welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and today's car is the Renault Sport Megane RS Trophy R. Quite a mouthful, but this is the hot Megane, and this one is extra special because it is the Nürburgring record edition as well, which means it has some extra carbon parts. As you can see, it's got carbon brakes on it and even carbon wheels. I'll go and take you around a few more of the details, but the key thing with this car is it's just broken the Nürburgring front-wheel drive record again, a 7/42 lap, which beat its arch rival, which is a Honda Civic Type R. So brought that along, but just behind me here, I also have another favourite Megane, the Renault Megane R26R, which unbelievably to me is 10 years old now. And this is a car, when I was at Evo, we awarded Car of the Year to in 2008, and then drove down into France, and we had a whale of a time, and it's sort of a bit of a giant killer. It was Mount Ventoux that particular year for Car of the Year, and it did amazing things. So I'm going to find out how far the Megane has come over 10 years. And I should also add, I have a bit of a penchant for hot Renault hot hatches. I'm sure lots of you know, just there is my Renault Clio Trophy. Well, it's not mine anymore, it's my son's. And that to me was the essence of a hot hatch. So I'll just comment on that as well. Anyway, let's go over and have a closer look at this Trophy R. Okay, well, key thing, Trophy R. There's more horsepower, 296 horsepower from its 1.8 litre engine, carbon bonnet as well. There you are, see it there. We'll have a look at the engine in a moment underneath. Different aero. This edition does away with those fog lights, etc., as driving lights, and you get vents through to the brakes, which are these enormous 390mm carbon discs. Slightly strange when you actually look at it. It's still steel braked at the rear. I suppose the rear is just along for the ride with a front wheel drive car. Not really, I know, but all the braking is generally on the front, and those monster calipers as well, and the carbon wheels. Now, actually, when this car arrived, these carbon wheels were in the back seat. And so the first thing I had to do was actually put these wheels on the car, because it was seen pointless driving it without the full spec. They're here. They're this very expensive option. It's £12,000. It actually is listed at £72,000 as you see it here. Yes, I did say that correctly. But for your £72,140, you do get exclusivity, as I say. I think they're only expecting 2 of these to be in the UK, and in total there's going to be 32 cars built to this spec for the world. Main markets: Switzerland, Germany, France, and Japan and UK. There's a couple of things that's happened with Megane recently, with this edition of Megane. First of all, it got 4 doors. The world has stopped buying 3-door cars for some reason. You have to, it's the SUV trend, etc. So they just no longer produce. So the Megane, this ultimate version, has to have 4 doors. There's no rear seat in this Trophy R edition, but the big change is it has a dedicated rear beam, rear axle. Does away with the 4-wheel steer, 4 control. I've not driven a Megane with 4-wheel steer, but the guys I respect in Autocar and Evo, etc., do not like it. It's slightly unpredictable at the ragged edge. So they're very pleased that's been deleted. So this version of Megane was born when 3-door cars were pretty common. And God, I think it looks really good for it. There's a stance about the R26R. And weirdly, although it was a very distinctive shape, Renault went out on a bit of a limb with this thing. It was known as the Bustle, this big arse on it. But I think it stood the test of time. I think they're increasingly getting collectible, these cars, and you now have to pay in the 20s for a good one, and it was listed at 23,000 new, so it's the same price as 10 years ago, this car. But it has a real stance, a real look, and it edges for me over the Trophy R. There is something very distinctive about an R26R. It gained this carbon bonnet, loud and proud, completely naked carbon lacquered bonnet there. I've always loved the red wheels as well, 18-inch wheels, these Toyo track day type tyres. Big door because it's this 3 doors I mentioned. I open this up, always feels a bit heavy. It's bleeping because I've got the key in it, but you've got proper carbon bucket seats in it as well. 6-point harness. The big change though, look at these side windows, plastic. Glass was deleted. If you wander around the back, same here, plastic as well. If I open this up, there's the climbing frame in the back. That's for the harness, so proper roll cage. And then at the rear, you have optional titanium exhaust, so you can just see the bluing, so all weight saving. And weight of this car, well, I've weighed all 3 cars, and this came out at 1187, I think it is. The R came out at 1287 kilos, so 100 kilos almost exactly heavier the R26R, but then it is affordable. If I open this up, here I can see the carbon bonnet here. I'll just put that down so I don't have to hold it. Carbon bonnet and this turbocharged engine. So, and one of the unfortunate things between the 2 Meganes is we're now in the age of downsizing, and the Megane R26R was a 2-litre engine, 227 horsepower. This one, 1.8 litre engine, but 296 horsepower. So they've really wound the wick up, but you're actually dealing with less CC. It's higher torque as well, 293 foot-pounds of torque. There's the turbo sitting at the back of the bulkhead. Just one of the fun details on the Trophy R. I was surprised to see this Renault emblem here, which is all smoothed off, because this is the one you normally get when you have radar cruise. But apparently engineers preferred it because it's slipperier, and that's why it's here, just to add a little bit to the top speed. 163 miles an hour, this Megane, so a pretty serious bit of kit. Plastic wings, as often on these sort of Renaults, and then the 4-door configuration. You also get, not carbon back this time seats, but seatback fixed bucket seats. If you want to adjust them, well, you need a little Allen key and you adjust the rake, etc. We'll have a look at the interior a bit more when we go drive it, but manual only on this one. And then the rear doors, no the thinner glass, but not the plastic. No way of lowering the window. And this is where the carbon wheels sit. So when it was delivered, they were in little packs, and there they all were behind this netting in here. Very strange. Right, we'll go around the back. And the thing here, before I lift the boot, is this dramatic diffuser here. A lot more effort on the Trophy R to try and lessen the lift. And the crap of its exhaust, titanium exhaust, you just see just poking out there as well. And then at the back, hasn't actually got that big roll cage. It's got a brace between the rear struts. No boot carpet, there's this plastic here, and a very open 2-seater despite the 4 doors. Right, so there you go. That gives you a bit more detail on these 2 cars. The big thing is how it drives, so let's take it outside now. And here we are. First thing, well, you have a key, a sort of key. That is a Renault key. It looks like that, but it's got keyless go, and you can open the door as long as you've got it in your pocket. Starting is by a button. I should actually mention, as you step in, there's on the sill it says Renault Sport, and this is car number 026 of the 500 run of Trophy R's, which is a nice touch. So the cars are numbered, they are very definitely limited production. So they're around, a Trophy R is 51,000 or something like that. I think an RS is 32,000. So it's a significant uplift just a Trophy R. But an enormous step up for this one with the carbon wheels and the carbon brakes, etc. Inside, yeah, RS wheel, nice little stripe on here. When we get in the R26R, you have a 6-point harness, none of that nonsense here, regular belt, information screen, etc. is downside on this car. Just going to try and find where the fan is, because I want to turn the fan down, because I don't want to be, I'll go on to soft. There we go. And away you go. Electric power steering, which is, yeah, to be expected these days, I'm afraid. And the gauge, it sets off in what is termed neutral. So I can make changes to how the car is set up, but there's no point doing that going down my drive. So I've got a little blue symbol telling me the engine's a bit chilled because it's been in the garage. So I'm going to warm the car up, and then you'll join me on some better roads in a moment. It's busy out here, which is a bit of a worry. Little pops from the exhaust, which seem de rigueur these days. This is all, as I say, I've put it into sport by pressing this. Actually, I should add that. So in front of the gear stick, there's this selector. It's gone back to neutral now. I have Perso, which is how I've set it up. So that's, if I press this screen with a picture of the car, I can see ESC is sport. Dynamic driving system is a neutral. Powertrain is race, but we can't really change much because it's a manual gear change. So there's no real choice there. Go back again. What else have we got? Display style and engine sound sport. So I can actually turn the pops and bangs off. If you're annoyed by pops and bangs, it's all right. You can change them off in here. Seats are weirdly quite comfortable. You'd think for the full bucket design and fixed bucket, there's no adjustment. The only adjustment I say is with a spanner. The only thing I notice is a few more squeaks and rattles just because of that open area to the boot and the plastic bin liner. Every now and then there's a little rattles and things coming from the back. But then this is, you know, this is a pretty hardcore Megane, so I'm sort of all right with that. The Meganes have always had weird handbrakes, and this is no different. It's just slightly like a Z. You put it up on the top of a Z or something underneath. Very odd, but it works. And a sort of stubby gear change, quite snatchy, not super smooth, not super slick. Feels like the gear knob should be just a little longer, the lever for me. There's sort of clever stuff going on with the engine management as well, because it feels as though it wants to get a move on this little engine. You know, there's some clever boost management, ECUs sort of coming in, so it has pretty decent low down torque. It's quite short geared as well, which is nice. And I'll just go past the D-limit sign in a moment, and I will just see what it does if I use some revs at last. Hooray, when it escapes. Whoa! Right. Yeah. Well, two things to note there. It really gets a move on from 3,500 straight through. It's worth revving out, which is nice. Peak power is actually at 6,000 RPM, but there's torque steer there. It's just about coping with that torque. I'm going to give away is the high torque. The R26R was much lower torque, 225 pound-foot of torque versus 293 for this. So big difference, but yeah, you feel that through the wheel. If I just slow down again, I think it's short geared as well. What does second go up to? Little bleeps there, it was the gear change, it goes just beyond 60 miles an hour. There's another bleep there, I haven't worked out what that one is. I keep hearing it. I've been living with this car for a few days and I just can't work out what it is. It's not at the same speed, it just pops things up, little messages. Saying tyre pressure, I don't know why. I can flick to something else, no memorised things, no, I don't understand that. Quite growly. It's quite nice, really. It does feel big, though. You know, compared to something like the little Clio Trophy, this feels a big car. It does feel a little bit bigger than the R26R as well. But then again, it is it's a four-door car. But we've got to turn it. Rolls workers. God, it's torque steering. I'm surprised how much torque steer is going on. Front, I'm just going to see if I can get past. I think I can. There we go, another little blip. So yeah, lots to like in here, and go back to that time, a 7:40 time round the Nürburgring front wheel drive car. It is chuffing quick. I mean, R26R, we all got excited back in 2008 because that did an 8:17 lap, which seemed absolutely remarkable for a front wheel drive hot hatch. And now we're nearly got these Olin suspensions, super trick Olins. There is an optional adjustable spring platform, so you could lower it. They say for track work, lower it by 16mm. This is on the standard setup. But yeah, ride is surprisingly good. But remarkably civilised, seeing how they've chucked a lot of soundproofing away. Say 130 kilos saved. The majority in it of that saving was actually in the rear axle, saving, changing to a beam, getting rid of the rear wheel steer. Favourite bit of corner here, really tests cars out, so I'm going back to sport. Just cruising through to see what it does around here. First of all, the big compression. Just brush that side, turning is amazing, super sharp on these Bridgestone tyres. Does like to grip, very pointy. That is, this feels every inch a 740 type Nurburgring car. Anything other brakes, I'm not liking the brakes. Powerful, yes, but it's like they're servoed and then they've got the carbon, so you press it and you think you've got a normal brake feel and they feel servoed, and then there's a second braking and it's just not right. You just feel clumsy. I think it's the carbon. Once they get up to temperature, carbon brakes do that. Just get to temperature and you get an extra bite from the carbon. So you press it once, you think you've got the braking force right, and then it comes again, which is not good. Also getting squealy brakes, which is also good. Oh, it's got these trick slippy diff they put in them. This is a tricky corner. Got the wrong camera not going with you, but you can power through it, just add power earlier than you expect, and that diff just brings you around. You know what I want to do now? I just want to jump in the R26R and just compare them side by side. Okay, with R26R, the first surprise, 6-point harness. No mucking about with normal seat belts. In one of these, you have to strap yourself in for every journey, which I have to say can be a little bit of a bore. But I sort of like the focus of this car. Now, the R26R, I know quite well from Evo days. One from the car of the year, and then another trip went down to the south of France. We decided as an office, what do we put against the Focus RS? When it re-emerged as a 5-cylinder car. The launch was in France, and we thought, you know what can we put against that? What about our favourite hot hatch of all, the R26R? I got the job of driving it down there. It was February and it decided to snow, and I can remember being marooned on my front drive. I got all the way home, just couldn't quite get up our front drive and had to tow it in the final bit. Anyway, drove it across France. There's no radio in here, so I listened to audio books on the way across and really got to like the car. Now, two bends coming down here that just suit this car perfectly. Immediately, I've got a normal brake pedal. The harder I press, the harder I brake. There's no funny servo bits, and I chuck it in and add power much earlier than I thought I can, and just the diff hooks up and just fires you out the corner. It was amazing when we first experienced this car. They talked about clever knuckles and things on the front suspension, and really it's just a diff. There's no torque steer. 227 horsepower this car, more than can cope with that tyres on it, those track day tyres. And the ride, that was a big surprise as well, because what was Renault Sport engineers were so clever with this car. There was an R26 and they shed weight by the, bucket load, take the rear seats out, plastic glass, etc. But rather than stiffening up the suspension more, they actually backed off the springs because they didn't have as much mass to deal with, was the theory. So like the modern Alpine, it rides much better than you expect, and it's just a hoot. And also there's not adjustable dampers on this. This is fixed dampers in this day and age. But yeah, just as a road car, this one's great, absolutely great. 10 years on, remember, and it still feels great today. I sort of wish it had a little bit more horsepower. 250 would have been perfect for this car, but really, I'm not complaining. It's just a bit of a legend, and it's still a legend 10 years on after revisiting it. Mad exhaust sound. I'll just do that again, so you might as well hear that. Put it into second, and it's like this demented Hoover. Here we go. Titanium exhaust as well on this one. Yeah, it's a pretty special car. Strapped in here, there's full-on seats and 6-point harness, so you're not going anywhere. Great steering feel, hydraulic steering on this. It just feels more natural as you tip it in. Still slightly over-assisted if I'm being fussy, but yeah, all good fun. Very easy to understand why this won Car of the Year. I'm just going to enjoy a little bit more of this and then get back into the Trophy R. So after driving them back to back, what do I think about these two amazing Meganes? Well, one, I just love that they exist. They're both proper, genuine enthusiast cars despite the front wheel drive. There's some real engineering talent back at Renault Sport to create these two cars. Trophy R takes it to the other level. As I say, that amazing time around the Nürburgring needed some real serious engineering to take a 300 horsepower car around the Nürburgring in 740 is a mighty achievement. I'm focused on the road though, and how does it behave on the road? Negative points first. I don't like the brakes. I think actually this car would probably be better on road with the steel brakes. With these carbon pads, carbon rotors at the front, I'm finding it extra grabby. I don't like the fact that I think I've got the right brake pressure and then having to ease off again as the carbons suddenly get up to temperature. It just doesn't feel right. The horsepower is just on the cusp of torque steer. Well, there is torque steer, and there's no doubt about it. And that it's mildly annoying, and it follows ruts as you're going down a road like this. And then the weight saving, the 1287 on my scales, 130 kilos less than a regular Megane RS. It's a good saving, but it's still a bit on the chunky side. When you think that previous generation was 100 kilos less for the R26R, even though it had a full cage inside as well. It's just a shame, but it's the way modern cars have gone, and I don't think they had the right base to work from. The fact that Megane had gone to 4-door only rather than being a 3-door, I think hampers that weight. But it does deliver. It really does deliver. Turn into the corner, astonishing. The way you can power through the corner using that diff to dig in and catapult you out. It's just, there's very few cars that can do that, and the ride is especially good. They've done a great job on setup with these Olin suspension. Is it worth the money? Well, probably not, but having 10 years on and seeing that R26R in the garage, it looks fantastic even now, and I think this will be prized in the same way as the R26R in another 10 years time. The cars that are coming down the pipe, they can't do cars like this anymore, not as extreme, not like this. You can't get through the Euro 7 electrics coming, etc. I'm hearing whispers this will be the last hot Megane. It's a real shame, but on a positive note, they've got an Alpine division now. Imagine all these bits, elements they build into this car on an Alpine 110 SS R. That's going to be very special. That's probably the future for this brand, because I don't think 300 horsepower, you're not going to get a 350 horsepower front wheel drive car anytime soon. So I've really enjoyed driving this car, but if I had to choose between the two, I have to say I would have the more rounded, more capable feel on road of the R26R over this Trophy R. but that was one hell of a car. Even 10 years on, it still feels special. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, keep watching, keep subscribing, because there'll be more videos coming along very soon.